Hey everyone, it's Zach Beck. In the ongoing debate over student loan cancellation, it appears as though there is some relief coming. The Biden administration is canceling $1 billion of student loan debt, and they're doing so for 72,000 Americans. This is a dramatic change that's going to impact a lot of individuals. So what I want to do in this video is break down in detail what this new proposal actually is, whether or not you are eligible to receive this form of student loan cancellation, as well as the broader prospects of more individuals being able to receive student loan cancellation down the road. So let's take our time, dive in the details, and jump into it right now. In a major announcement, the U.S. Department of Education will enact student loan forgiveness for nearly 72,000 Americans. This dramatic change is going to impact a lot of individuals, and it's related to those who say they were either ripped off financially or educationally from a previous institution they attended. So this is actually associated with a specific formula that they use to calculate student loan forgiveness. The Biden administration claims that the formula used by the previous administration was unfair to student loan borrowers, specifically those who attended a school that was either fraudulent or a school that closed. And what they say is that those who are wanting student loans forgiven for attending those types of schools should be able to have an easier pathway to actually do so. Under a federal law known as the Borrower Defense to Repayment, borrowers were entitled to receive federal student loan forgiveness if they attended a university or a school that engaged in deceptive or fraudulent behavior or that closed suddenly. This rule acted as a form of consumer protection for those who attended these types of schools, because without that rule, if they attended one of these universities that engage in deceptive or fraudulent behavior, and then let's say they move forward after graduating from that school, weren't able to obtain any form of employment, they would still owe the student loans associated with that. So they created this rule back in 2016, the federal government did, and hopefully as a form of consumer protection that could prevent people from having to pay loans back to a university that was defunct. Now, it is debatable whether this rule is actually fair, because you could argue that the individuals who chose to attend these schools really made a personal decision to do so at an adult age, and they should be responsible for what that decision did. So in that sense, there is an argument that taxpayers shouldn't foot that bill. I'm not here to argue whether or not that is fair or just or it's not fair. I'm just telling you what the federal law was back in 2016. It changed then in the previous administration, and now the Biden administration is putting it back in place, allowing individuals who attended these types of schools to have easier pathway towards student loan forgiveness. On that note, former U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos had argued that the Borrower Defense to Repayment rules were too generous and allowed individuals too easy of access to student loan forgiveness. So she actually changed those rules while she was serving as Secretary of Education. Now, nearly 22 attorney generals throughout the United States of America actually filed a lawsuit against her and said they needed to relax those rules to allow individuals easier access to student loan forgiveness. So that was battling through the court system, and now with the change in the dynamic with a new president and a new Senate and a new Congress as a whole, where it's now controlled by the Democratic Party, it's much more likely that we're going to see this kind of generous approach towards student loan forgiveness moving forward. Because now the current Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, is actually saying that he wants to make rules even easier, not just for this specific instance, but for other instances to allow individuals easier access to student loan forgiveness. To that extent, Secretary Cardona is actually wanting to move forward on one of President Biden's campaign proposals, which is an income-driven repayment plan, which actually allows individuals to pay back their student loans based on their current income. So they basically can pay a less percentage on how they actually are able to repay their loans, so that way they don't become bankrupt just trying to repay their student loans while they're actually trying to move forward in their career that they actually should have achieved with the degree they earned in college. So that's kind of one thing you should expect moving forward. But when it comes specifically to this new proposal that was just enacted with $1 billion worth of student loans being forgiven, we want to see now who is actually eligible to receive this form of student loan forgiveness. So you might be asking yourself, who is eligible to receive this form of student loan forgiveness that was recently enacted by the Biden administration? So this is actually very important for all of us to understand. This form of student loan forgiveness applies to individuals who have gone through a formal process where they're actually filing a claim against the school that they attended. So if you filed a claim against the school that you attended, and then if that claim was approved, and then you actually did not receive full student loan forgiveness from what you were allowed to receive, then you would be eligible with this new formula, this new calculation from the Secretary of Education, to actually be able to receive student loan forgiveness. So it's something that's going to be a bit different and not applicable to all student loan borrowers, but those specifically who have filed a claim, had the claim approved, did not receive all the student loan forgiveness they were due to receive, then they're eligible to receive it completely forgiven. An additional element of this is actually how it impacts your credit score. So if your credit score was negatively impacted by not having your student loan forgiven by attending a fraudulent university or having that university close, or if it was deceptive with its advertisements or anything to that extent, then you're allowed to actually go to your credit bureau and have them actually remove any negative remarks that were placed onto your credit score due to your student loan forgiveness. So in that sense, this could actually be a boon for you financially by hopefully increasing your credit score and also lowering your overall liability by canceling your student loans. So if you're eligible in this sense, it is a really good day for you. For those who aren't eligible for this, it's interesting to be aware of because it also portends what we might see happening in the future with other student loan forgiveness that is applicable to more individuals. So now you might be asking yourself, well, do I need to do anything? The great thing about this is you don't right now. If you are eligible to receive student loan forgiveness with this new rule change, you will receive a notice, and then that notice will be followed after that with your student loan actually being forgiven. Once again, this is only applicable for individuals who had filed a claim, had the claim approved, and then did not receive the full forgiveness they were due. So in that sense, you already have a system in place, your information is already out there. So if you're trying to claim it now, you might not be able to do so, but it's for individuals who are kind of already in that pipeline. So that sense alone, you should be able to just kind of sit back and watch this occur, but then you do want to take that additional step of contacting your credit bureau if you still have a negative score or a negative mark on your credit score because of this instance. So if you're not eligible to receive student loan forgiveness from the new rule that was put forth by the Biden administration, you might be asking yourself, will I have my student loans forgiven? And if so, when will that occur? The answer is most likely and possibly soon. So the reason why is that on the campaign trail, Biden actually went out and said that he wanted to cancel $10,000 of student loan debt for student loan borrowers. And this is something that he's been consistent with throughout the course of the campaign and even into early stages of his presidency. Now, he does face opposition from more liberal Democratic senators, specifically Senator Schumer and Senator Warren, who are urging him to actually cancel $50,000 of student loan debt. Now, what you're going to find though is Biden has been on the record on multiple occasions saying that he will not go up to $50,000. He is proposing $10,000. So that appears to be his benchmark that he doesn't seem willing to budge on. Even in a town hall that he conducted recently where a college student asked him if he would cancel her student loans up to a higher threshold, he said no. So in that sense, I just want to be really clear with what is going on right now because he is the most influential person in this sense because if the Senate or if the House passes something, it requires his signature. Or if he uses executive authority or executive action to cancel student loans, he has indicated he's not going to exceed that $10,000 threshold. So I would anticipate that if we're going to see some form of student loan forgiveness, it would probably be at that $10,000 mark. Furthermore, although we have certain senators who are more vocal, like Schumer or Warren, or people who might be in the House of Representatives who are a bit more liberal, who are advocating for more student loan forgiveness, we have to remember that the breakdown of the Senate is 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans. So he needs to make sure that if we're going to have student loan forgiveness and it's only going to be done by the Democratic Party, he cannot afford to lose any of his moderate Democratic senators. Think Kristen Sinema from Arizona or Joe Manchin from West Virginia. So in that sense, I think there's highly unlikely for it to exceed $10,000. Furthermore, in the House of Representatives, the breakdown is actually pretty close as well. So you're thinking more of these swing state Democratic congressional members who would be willing to vote for this. Furthermore, this is a bipartisan issue. It's not just solely Democrats who want it and Republicans who don't. So I would expect that what Biden is trying to do is he wants to have more broad support for this. So by having a lower threshold of $10,000, he's more likely to bring some more moderate Republican senators who support this, as well as more moderate Republican House of Representative members, because this is a popular issue that is, like I said, crosses both boundaries. So in that sense, that's what I would expect to occur. It could occur through executive action by Biden alone. It could also occur just by action of the Secretary of Education, potentially by the direction of the president, or it could be a bill that actually goes into effect. So there's a lot of different ways this could occur, but I would expect it to occur within the first year of Biden's presidency because it was something he made clear on the campaign trail that he wanted to do. On that note, you might be asking yourself, is canceling student loans fair? Now, I really want to hear your thoughts on this, so please let me know in the comment section down below. I've made movies about student loans before, and I've had a lot of individuals saying this is not fair. People shouldn't have taxpayer dollars going to help people bail them out who made a decision as an individual, as an adult, to take on a loan to get a degree to advance themselves, and now because they can't pay it back, the taxpayers have to foot the bill. Totally understand that argument. On the flip side, you have other people who are saying, well, I made this decision, I did it, but they were using predatory lending techniques or something to that extent. So having my student loan forgiveness allows me to move forward and achieve my vocational career, allows me to go and invest into the economy by being a productive citizen, by buying a home, starting a family, doing all those things. So there's validity to both sides. I'm not here to say which one is right. I'm just giving you what is happening right now by those who are most influential and actually have the authority to make an impact in this, specifically the President of the United States and the Congress. So in that sense, please let me know your thoughts down below. I really would love to hear more about it. One tangible action that was already taken by the House, the Senate, as well as the President of the United States was the American Rescue Plan. And what they did is actually included language in there that allows student loan forgiveness to be considered tax-free, and if it occurs between now and the end of December 2025. So that is a very clear indication that what we should expect out of Congress or from the President himself is some form of student loan forgiveness, because they would not have included that language in there otherwise. So I would really expect this is going to occur. I cannot tell you the exact date that it will occur, but I believe that it will, and most likely around that $10,000 threshold. This is important to be aware of because, like I said before, the Biden administration right now is canceling $1 billion worth of student loans that applies to 72,000 Americans, but there is nearly $1.7 trillion worth of student loans owed by 45 million Americans. So like I said, whether or not we believe it's a good or a bad thing, you can imagine that is going to inject additional capital and additional financial freedom to those individuals who probably will pour that money right back into the economy, or they might save it for their own financial future. So that's something to really be aware of and think about those implications in the stock market, things about those implications in the financial sector, in our economy as a whole. It really will be interesting to see what occurs in the months and years following that, to see if that actually changes how things are working moving forward. One of the most important things the Biden administration is encouraging everyone to do is to forgive the like button for the YouTube algorithm. I'm just kidding, but if you wouldn't mind, please tap the like button. That would really help the channel out, because doing so doesn't cost taxpayers anything. It doesn't add anything to your student loan debt, but overall it will encourage people to have better information moving forward so that they can make wise decisions for their financial health. So that's what I encourage you to do. If you don't mind, please tap it right now. So if you're one of the 72,000 Americans who's actually going to have your student loans forgiven by this new rule put in place by the Biden administration, you might be asking yourself, how should I allocate my finances right now? And this is, I believe, important for anyone to be aware of, irrespective if you're having your student loans forgiven, if you're in debt, if you're out of debt, if you're financially secure, wherever you are. We want to operate with the guiding principles and the foundational approach that we apply to our finances on a daily basis that allows us to move forward to achieve our financial goals. And personally, I like doing so by having a very kind of cohesive approach towards my finances. The first thing that I try to do is I try to cut spending wherever I can. This could involve doing anything from making sure that I don't have a certain subscription that's on auto renew, or I make sure that I can cut back on certain expenses, specifically high-end expenses, like rent or mortgage, cars, those kinds of things. Furthermore, try to save money where you can. Saving money is important. It's really essential to our living, and obviously depending upon your income right now, it might be difficult to do so, but if you save your money where you can, that really helps you to build wealth over time. Furthermore, try to avoid lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is where you do the same thing as what the Joneses are doing, or what your next door neighbor is doing, or what you're seeing on Instagram or on social media all the time, trying to take the same types of vacations, trying to wear the same types of clothes, trying to do the same types of things as other people just because other people are doing it, or buying things that they are buying. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we want to avoid that in general, because we don't necessarily need to buy more things to find joy or fulfillment or happiness. That comes from within, and also you'll have more peace of mind when you have more finances, and fads continue to come and go. And if you're more original and stick to your own thing, that's probably a better approach to take. Furthermore, try to avoid debt. I know this whole video is about student loan debt, but there's other forms of debt. People take on consumer loans. They do everything to finance cars or appliances or electronics. Try not to have consumer debt. Really, the only debt that is, I would say, reasonable to have is a mortgage, because you're locking in a low interest rate for a long period of time to kind of compete with inflation. But generally speaking, we don't want to operate with debt, because that puts us in a negative net worth versus having a positive net worth, and that's what we want to have. Lastly, you want to invest into things that you understand. Specifically, I like doing that into index funds, which are basically low cost, they're automated, more streamlined, and generally more passive in your investing approach. You're not having to check your GameStop stock every single day. You can basically just sit back, set money into your account, have it automatically renew every single couple of weeks or every month or whatever, set some money into your account, and then just watch it grow over time. This is actually what Warren Buffett recommends. He recommends that individuals invest 90% of their stocks into index funds and then doing 10% into bonds. So I like doing so. And if you want to actually begin investing into index funds, you can use Wealthfront. That's actually a company that I like to use. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get paid by them or anything like that. I'm just telling you it's what I use. I have a link in the description where you can have your first $500 managed for free if you click that link and actually sign up and deposit on the platform and start your process towards achieving your financial goals. I really like it. It's a streamlined and intuitive system. Now, if you want to be a bit riskier with your finances and actually invest into individual stocks, that's totally fine to do. It just requires a bit more research. You can do the same thing and get your start already if you actually click some links in the description. I have it right now for Robinhood and on WeBull. So if you do it on WeBull, you'll actually receive 2 free stocks worth up to $1,400 if you deposit $100 on the platform. Then you can go ahead and pick your individual stocks and then begin investing into them. That's totally up to your discretion. Furthermore, if you just want a very simple way to kind of get started with saving money, you can use Acorns. I have a link in the description for that as well. What Acorns does for you is basically anytime you make a purchase, whether you're buying a cup of coffee, you're buying some groceries, you're out shopping, if you make a purchase, let's say it's cost $7.50, it'll round your transaction up to $8, then invest that 50 cents and throw it into the stock market, generally into an index fund. That's a very easy way to kind of get started with investing, and then you can automatically invest money into that, and also you can 10x or multiply the amount that gets invested, so you could actually have it 1 or 3 or 10 times depending upon how much you want to actually invest. So give that a shot if you want. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. If you wouldn't mind, please tap the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Help push this video to other people who might need to hear it. Furthermore, if you wouldn't mind, please comment down below. Like I said before, this is a hot topic, varying issues and varying opinions on this, and I want to hear from everyone on it because I also want to try and inform you, but also I want to learn from you as well. Furthermore, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to myself personally, as I try and do everything I can to create positive content that makes a positive impact in your life by encouraging you and myself to lead lives of meaning and purpose, all while maintaining balance and moderation. And if you do subscribe to the channel, please tap the notification bell. That will notify you every time I post a video, which I do on a weekly basis. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you next time.